We have been measuring the length of shoes from heel to toe. Are there any other ways we could measure a shoe? We can measure the length of these paints from one end to the other. Is there another way we could measure the paints? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that and talk it over. We can also measure how much it weighs. What does it mean to weigh something? Talk that over. You're right. Weighing means to see how heavy or light something is. Do you think the paints or the pencil is heavier? Let's check. I have a weight right here. Right now the weight is balanced. Everything is the same. I'm going to put the paints on. It is not balanced because the paints are heavier. Now I'm going to put the pencil on. Which is heavier? You're right, the paints are heavier. Do you think we can find something in this pile that's heavier than the paint? Let's try it. Let's try the block. Which is heavier? Right, the block is heavier. The block and the paints are on a pan balance. A pan balance is what we use to measure. We are going to use this pan balance to check to see what is heavier and what is lighter of the objects that are on the table. During workstations, you are going to use the pan balance to check to see which is heavier and which is lighter. You and your partner will each choose an object. If you have 3 partners, you will have to rotate. Then you will talk to see about which is heavier and which is lighter. After you talk about the objects of which is heavier and which is lighter, you will place 2 on the pan balance just like I did. I'm going to do the block and the paints again. And we know the block is heavier. After you do that, you are going to get out your worksheet. This worksheet has 2 sides. Some of the worksheets have 2 sides and some have 1. Let's take a careful look at this worksheet. I notice that the one on the front is down and the one in the back is up. So the one in the front, would that mean if something's heavier, if it's down more, or lighter? You're right, that means it's heavier. So your job is to illustrate or write the word of the heavier item. I know that my heavier item is my block, and I see the letter D on the block. So I'm going to illustrate my rectangle block and write the letter D. Next, I'm going to illustrate my paints because my paints are lighter. And I'm going to write the letter H. I'm just going to do some sketches. I don't need to take time to color it all in because that would take away from the fun of weighing the objects. Today and every other day in math workstations, you and your partner are going to weigh objects to check to see if some are heavier and some are lighter.